Miss Chancellor's 96th in the review. This time we have the Marvel Legends from the Absorbing Man wave, Jack-O-Lantern. So going over the package real fast. Standard Marvel Legends packaging. It is under the banner of Villains of the Night because he does share his packaging with Morbius. So you can see some nice artwork of him on the side, and then some great artwork of Jack-O-Lantern as well. Both of the figures with a brief description, and then some other figures in the assortment. This is one, if not the best wave of Marvel Legends under Hasbro's control, basically. So I would recommend getting just about all of these guys because it is just such a solid wave. This was my most anticipated figure, so much so that I did buy two of him. I have another one that's loose riding the broom. I have him, kind of on a flight base and just looking great in my collection. So, I never do that. I hardly ever buy two of the same figure. And if I do that, I keep the other one mint. But there's just some times where I buy two and I open both of them just because they're so cool and you can have different looks with them. So this was, like I said, my most anticipated figure. Not just of this wave though. Basically, my most anticipated non-Build-A-Figure for Marvel Legends ever, I would say. I don't know why. I've taken such a liking to this character. I love Spider-Man villains. This obviously is not a main Spider-Man villain. However, I do completely know him, and I've just always really been kind of taken back by his look. I think it's really cool, and then Hasbro really translated his comic entity into a figure just excellently, I have to say. So I am very happy about that. Let's get on to the figure. As you can see, taking a look at this face sculpt, it is excellent. I mean, just so extreme. Obviously, unlike anything that we've really ever seen, not only in Marvel Legends, but just in figures in general for the most part. Super cool. Obviously, very goofy in its subject matter. However, the actual design is just awesome and fearsome and kind of scary almost. But he's got a nice pumpkin head. It is orange, but there's a lot of black wash into it, which looks really nice. Obviously, kind of has that creepy smile with flames coming out of the eye sockets, as well as flames engulfing the entire pumpkin itself, which is really cool. And they're all translucent, so with the right light, they do look extremely nice. And they're orange at the bottom, and as they get to the top of the flame, they do turn yellow, which is so cool. The head sculpt is beyond belief. I absolutely love it. The body itself isn't a new sculpt. However, it is a new sculpt for me. This originally was released in like a Comic-Con, 5-pack or something, Comic-Con exclusive one. I don't remember who was the character that originally donned this body, but it works completely well with Jack-O-Lantern. Jack-O-Lantern, has taken kind of different forms in the comics. His kind of original look is more bulky, and he kind of rides like a cylinder-style glider. However, the more recent Jack-O-Lantern, which this one is basically based off of, is much more skinny and spindly, and obviously rides a broom, so I think that they have done that really nicely here. But overall, I really love the actual design of the body. It's very skinny, like I said. It has these really creepy, just scary looking hands. I absolutely love them. They look great in poses, and definitely really cool. He has a belt with pumpkin bombs attached to them. I think the pumpkin bombs look nice. I wish that they were maybe a little bit brighter, but they still look really nice. And I love the color that they've chosen to go with. It's a kind of really dark green. I think it looks really nice. The boots have some excellent texture, especially on the top there. And just in general look fantastic. I love the actual just design of this figure. I think that he looks super cool and just obviously incredibly unique. And then it always helps because for me this is a new figure. I don't have the original one that this body has come from, so it's a completely new figure for me, which with Marvel Legends doesn't happen too often. Most of their figures are repainted bodies with a different head sculpt for the most part. So it is always extremely unique to get a completely unique figure. Alright, he does come with this kind of, I guess you'd call it a sickle, I'm not quite sure, but this massive kind of claw knife here, looking really cool. I love it. It's painted really well. It's quite a thick claw, and this one is really bent. I will say that my other one is definitely not as bent. Let me see, I've got it in a little bag. There you go, you can compare them. As you can see, this one is just about perfect, while this one is quite bent there, so it really will depend on how your figure is packaged, depending on, how the accessories will be bent just from being in the package. But it is quite a thick knife, which makes it just look more intimidating, I have to say. So that's pretty neat. It does have a handle on it. Obviously his hands really aren't meant for holding anything, so what you're supposed to do is just kind of put his fingers through the handle, and that's how he holds it. So let me just do that. You do kind of have to squeeze his fingers in through the handle, but as you can see, he holds it really nicely. It was an interesting idea for them to give him a handle. I would have preferred just to actually have interchangeable hands that were meant for holding the accessories. However, I think this is fine. I certainly wouldn't sacrifice these awesome hands for hands that are meant for holding the accessory. If we did get them on top of these hands, that would be fine, but if I could only choose either having these hands or having the holding hands, the way they did it is definitely the way I would have hoped that they'd do it. So I am happy about that, and he holds it very strongly. It doesn't fall out of his hand or anything like that. Another accessory is his pumpkin bomb. This accessory, I like the way that it's sculpted a lot. I mean, it just looks nice. It's got some flame to it. You can see the actual face in the pumpkin, which is really cool. I don't like the fact that it's all translucent. I would have liked the pumpkin itself to be more colored, kind of like this, maybe a little lighter, and then have the flames obviously be translucent. So I would have preferred, just the flames translucent as opposed to the entire pumpkin. But it is a nice size, and it's sculpted really nicely, and he can be held in this hand. You kind of have to jam it in between his fingers, but as you can see, he holds it, and he just looks pretty awesome with it. And his final accessory, and definitely the most interesting one, is his broom. Obviously, the Jack-o'-lantern has always kind of been like the Green Goblin or Hobgoblin, just based on the fact that he always has some sort of flying material, as well as, of course, he does have pumpkin bombs. Like I said, the original Jack-o'-lantern had more of a cylinder glider, while this one is obviously incredibly unique. It's a broomstick, but it's kind of like it's not powered by magic, it's actual technology, which is why there's a flame coming out of the back there. He's actually kind of flying on. So really neat. I love the way that it's bent, the handle. I think that just looks awesome. And then I do like the fact that the flame is translucent and it kind of fades into the actual broomstick. I think that's pretty neat. I would have preferred the kind of fading into the broomstick to happen a little bit more like up here. I think that the translucent goes kind of too far on it, and I wish that there was some hints of silver here and just around here, just so that you can kind of see what's happening here, because it's all one color, so it does kind of look like it kind of blends in together. So it would have been nice to get some hints of this being metal that's kind of so hot that it's kind of like red hot. So that would have been really kind of neat to see. But I do like the design of this broomstick a lot. Obviously, he holds it using the same method that he holds his other weapon, where you kind of just put his fingers through the handle there, and that's how he holds it. So let me show that. Alright, these hands are a little bit hard to get through, and that's mainly because I just opened this figure. I've only had my other Jack-o'-lantern open for the time, so there we go. You can get his fingers in here. Obviously, he holds it extremely well. You don't have to worry about him dropping it whatsoever. And then, basically, the way that these handles are set up, it's so that you can kind of put his feet behind the handles, almost. There's tons of different ways that you can actually get him on the glider. This is the type here where you can have his feet behind the handles, or you could even have him stepping on the handles. I feel like it's harder to get him in a good position like that, but he just looks really awesome on the glider. He just looks so menacing and so cool, and I have him in a really nice pose on my shelf. Next time I do a collection video, you guys can see it, but just really love the actual design of this figure, and looking fantastic. The only thing that the one in the comics has that this figure is lacking is a cape. In the comics, he does have a cape. Obviously, when he fights and stuff, it can fall off, so it is, it's not like this figure's ruined because he doesn't have a cape, It's not like Mysterio, who has to have a cape. This guy does wear a cape, but it isn't necessarily a trademark of his design. So I'm fine that they didn't give him a cape, because he does come with all of his other essential accessories, which is quite nice. If you do want a cape for him, though, the one that comes with Hope Summers from the Terrax wave looks great with him. I do have it on my other Jack-o'-lantern. It looks awesome. It's very kind of tattered at the end, and it's a dark brown with a nice brown black wash through it, and it does look really creepy, and the way that it goes on him, it kind of flares out. So I have him on his broom, and it looks like the wind is actually blowing it back. It looks absolutely fantastic. So I would highly recommend, if you do have that Hope Summers figure, to loan her cape to Jack-O-Lantern. He just looks so cool with it. Articulation is pretty standard for Marvel Legends. He's got a ball hinge neck, can look down quite far, can't really look up very far, just basically levels out. And of course, you do have side to side. Ball hinge shoulders with a bicep swivel, double hinge elbows with a swivel at the upper glove. Then we have an ab crunch, which goes down quite far and goes up not too much. Swivel at the waist. Ball jointed hips, they are the kind where you do have to twist them to get to the joint, and then you can move it up and then twist his leg back into position. And he has swivel thighs, double hinge knees, and hinge pivoting ankles. Pivot works really nice. His joints are a bit softer plastic, and because of that, his legs can kind of bow out. My other Jack-O-Lantern doesn't have the legs that bow out as bad as this, I have to say, but that will be something that you definitely want to look out for when choosing a Jack-O-Lantern on the shelf, is how he's packaged, because obviously that's going to affect the way that his legs are positioned, as well as, like we saw earlier, the way that his weapon is kind of set up. So an absolute excellent figure. I would highly recommend this for any Marvel Legends fan. I'm a huge Spider-Man villain fan. Like I said, this is kind of an obscure type of villain, but I think he looks awesome. And just if you're wondering, he doesn't really fight Spider-Man much. It's really his main foe is Agent Venom. They have released Agent Venom as a Walgreens exclusive a couple of years ago. I do have it, and he just looks awesome fighting him. He really does. So very neat. Just want to show you this. And you know what? I'll show you my Jack-O-Lantern that I have on the shelves real fast. I'll take you to that and show you that at the very end here. So let's go see my other Jack-O-Lantern. Alright, so here's both of my Jack-O-Lanterns in the collection. As you can see, looking pretty cool here. I do just have my phone to shine some light on it. Actually creates a really cool shadow behind them. Look at that. And now I want to get some sort of light to do that. That looks awesome. But here he is. It's kind of hard to see because he is closer in the back. I obviously put him closer in the back because he's flying, so he's pretty tall and looking really cool. Let's see if I can get it any closer without knocking over all my stuff. As you can see, there he is with the cape. So the cape does look really nice, and the way it's flowing, it does actually look like he is mid-flight kind of gliding there, which is cool. And then I do have my regular Jack-O-Lantern that I just reviewed. Right in front of him, I kind of have him holding that sickle knife kind of behind his back, looking quite creepily. So yeah, really do love this Jack-O-Lantern figure. Highly recommend it, and that's my video review of the Marvel Legends Jack-O-Lantern. Thanks so much for watching.